Welcome to Kentucky Football Nation. I wanted to do a video about Jared Lorenzen, the late Jared Lorenzen. He's statistically the best quarterback in the history of the University of Kentucky football team. I got his picture up today. I usually have Tim Couch up there. I like Tim Couch, but I also like Jared Lorenzen. Those two are the two best quarterbacks we've ever had. If we could get another one of those, we would be awesome. But anyway, so let's talk about Jared Lorenzen. Now, when he came to Kentucky, he was listed at 6'4", 260. We all know he's probably a little bit more than that. In high school, he went to Fort Thomas Highlands. He was Kentucky Mr. Football in 1998. He had 45 passing touchdowns his senior year and 15 rushing touchdowns. They were 15-0. So state champions. Yes, following Tim Couch, Hal Mumme was the coach then. If you remember, we were looking for somebody to take over Tim Couch's place in the air raid. We had Dusty Bonner, and I'm sure when Hal Mumme saw him, he was like, okay, Kentucky Mr. Football, just almost as popular, if not as popular as Tim Couch. So the first thing Hal Mumme did was, it was kind of controversial. I remember this. He named Jared Lorenzen the starter as a true freshman. And, that made, of course, upset Dusty Bonner, and Dusty Bonner left. And a lot of people like me were saying, okay, wow, is this kid good? Because we just went 6-5 with Dusty Bonner. And, he wasn't lighting it up like Tim Couch, but he could run the air raid. So there was a little bit of concern that, hey, I hope this works out. Well, it worked out. It did not work out for Hal Mumme. Now, the first season, he did play under Hal Mumme. We went 2-9. Of course, he had got caught in a cheating scandal, and he ended up leaving the first year. So let's talk about some of his stats when he played at Kentucky. From 2000 to 2003, that's 4 seasons. He threw for 10,354 yards, school record, 78 touchdowns. He also rushed for 283 yards and 12 touchdowns during those 4 years. So, yeah, if you watched him, man, he could run. For a big guy, he could run. He would go out there and throw a block. And I'm sure if you were a defensive back who was, 185 or a linebacker who was 215, you saw an ice cream truck coming at you. He's put fear in people whenever he decided to help run block or pass block or whatever. So, a couple of stories here. I remember I was listening to somebody told this story. I think it was the Tennessee media people. This is who the story is about. So Hal Mumme takes Jared Lorenzen and two of the other defensive linemen and maybe an offensive lineman to SEC media days. I guess it would be 2000 because that was his last year. So he takes Jared to SEC media days. And some Tennessee people know who he is. So I don't think it was Philip Fulmer. Somebody maybe, I think it was maybe a media person, a newspaper writer, was standing with some of the Tennessee players who came to SEC media days for Tennessee. And I think they were all defensive players, big guys. And the story goes, the person said, hey, you see that guy over there? And he pointed to Jared Lorenzen. And this person said, what position do you think he plays? Of course, these Tennessee football players, one of them said tight end, one said defensive lineman, one said offensive lineman. And then the person said, fellas, that's their quarterback. And then the person said their eyes got really big. Oh, my God. You hadn't ever seen a quarterback that big, okay, that could play like that. Now, he did get teased for it. So first year we played Indiana. Now, I like the radio announcer now that his name escapes me who the radio announcer was. But he called he called Jared Lorenzen a fat Sammy Ball. This is before the game. I'm listening to the game. And he goes, man, this dude looks like a fat Sammy Ball. He was making fun of him. I can't, whoever did the Indiana or does Indiana radio, who I like, but man, he was giving him grief. Well, we only won 2 games that year, but we beat Indiana 40-33, and Jared had a good game. So fat Sammy Ball kicked your ass. You shouldn't have said that. I think a lot of people figured out, I probably shouldn't tease this guy, start messing with him. So I didn't like that. Don Fisher. Is that now the name comes to me? Radio guy for Indiana, Don Fisher. I did a video on the Kentucky-Indiana football series. If I haven't already put it up, look for that. It's probably up by now. So yes, all those school records we talked about. He holds Kentucky school record for total offense, passing yards, passing touchdowns. Although he played for 3 different coaches. He played for Mummy, then he played for Guy Morris. He did good with Guy Morris, and then Rich Brooks. He played on some good teams. He played on some bad teams. So it was a mixed bag. So then 2004, he goes into the NFL draft. He's undrafted, but he's signed with the New York Giants. Third string quarterback is going to back up Eli Manning and Tim Hasselbeck. So he played with the Giants from 2004 to 2008. Of course, in 2007, they went to the Super Bowl. Eli Manning tells the story of the Tyree where he was in the grass of people and he spun out and he just threw it down and Tyree makes the helmet catch. He tells the story of in practice every day, Jared Lorenzen, and I don't know if it was Hasselbeck, they would do this drill where they would grab a hold of him and he had to try to get out of it, or they would either try to grab him and grab a hold of him. He said Jared would grab a hold of him and it was so hard to get out of his grasp. So when it was the Patriots, grabbed a hold of him, he spun out of it because he was used to doing that with Jared. So he talked about, and he loved Jared Lorenzen. I mean, he really did. At his funeral, and he just said some really good things. So he loved Jared. And Jared moved up to second string there, I think in 2007. He played in some games. And I know he came in on, I think he ran the ball. There is a video of him going downfield, running really fast downfield. Now, he got his weight down. And if that was one Tom Coughlin, you had to keep your weight down. I don't know what his weight was in the NFL, but he got it down. And there's a video of him on YouTube. You can go look it up. I don't know what it'd be under. Jared Lorenzen blocking. Man, he ran downfield and did the same thing he did in the pros. He ran out the defensive back and the guy was getting out of his way. He didn't really have to tackle anybody. People were just getting out of his way. But yeah, the guy could run fast. What an athlete. And one thing that amazes me is I put some shorts up of Jared Lorenzen. He stands still on his back foot and just threw it 67 yards to somebody off his back foot, standing straight up, and just did that right there. So, man, what an athlete for that size of a guy. So happy he got a Super Bowl ring. I know that must have made him really happy after people teased him. And then, in the beginning, like I said, once you played against them, you didn't take very long for you to figure out, I better shut the hell up. I wrote down some little things about Jared. LSU game, we had Nick Saban beat LSU. That's where Jared was the guy who dumped the Gatorade on Guy Morris with 6 seconds left. And then LSU threw a Hail Mary and won the game. It was Jared that threw the Gatorade on him. He said, yeah, I probably shouldn't have threw it on him that soon. But, what are you going to do? We should have covered them. Jesus Christ. Once again, until Stoops got here, we would lose every way you could lose. How can you let somebody get behind you when you got everybody back? Come on. I mean, I sat there and watched that and I just went, well, it didn't surprise me because I've seen it all. Tennessee, Chase Harp, caught a pass. We're down by 3. He's running into toward the end zone. There's nobody in front. There's nobody around him. He trips somehow on the turf and fumbles the ball with nobody tackling him. And then Tennessee falls on the ball and we lose. So getting off on a side note there, didn't surprise me when LSU beat us. So after his football career, he played for the Northern Kentucky River Monsters. You guys probably saw that. I don't know how much he weighed then, but he broke his tibia. When he broke his leg, I think that probably really set him back as far as trying to lose weight because, man, that's your tibia. That had to hurt. So unfortunately, 2017, he got up to like 500 pounds. You guys, I'm not going to go over the ESPN was doing a little documentary following him. He lost 100 pounds. 38 years old. He just had an infection and his heart and kidneys failed and he passed away, which was horrible. He was on KSR. Man, now he loved Matt Jones. He loved KSR. They let him do the pregame. They tell the story of him walking around at the stadium and, all the tailgates. He would stop and talk to everybody. He would throw a football to anybody's kids. he was just loved by everybody. So they were talking about when he never beat Florida. We didn't beat Florida for Stoops broke that once again. Mark Stoops broke that streak. We hadn't beat them in like 30 years. Jeez. There's only like one or two teams. I think it was Navy and Notre Dame that had a longer streak than we did against Florida. And whenever we beat Florida, he did a live stream and he actually cried. So he still loved football. He loved being on KSR. I mean, you could tell it in his voice. So I was glad he got to do that. I do want to end by saying some of his nicknames because I thought they were funny. Of course, his main nickname was the Hefty Lefty. He's left-handed. Hefty Lefty. Round mound of touchdown. I like that one. Fat Bastard. He actually liked that. That's from the movie. And Pillsbury Throwboy. Those are just four of the ones I really, really liked. He liked that one too. So he would bring these four up all the time. But he was the Hefty Lefty. Loved by everybody. Like I said, I don't know that you're ever going to see a guy 400 pounds that can run like that. And yeah, he might have been a fat Sammy Ball there, but like I said, you didn't make fun of him for too long. He was loved. So just wanted to get on here and pay my respects to Jared Lorenzen. What a quarterback. And listen, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Okay, I got shorts on. I put shorts on, short videos every week, 2 or 3 of past players in Kentucky football history. Thanks for watching.